All right, the time is 7:04. I call the October 18th, 2023 meeting of the Village of Suffern Planning Board to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up on the agenda is Iglesia Evangelica Nueva Jerusalem, Inc. for a sign application. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, hi, my name is Maite Shining. I'm representing Hispana Signs. This sign is going to be located at 16 Ramapo Avenue. It's Suffern, New York. And we're presenting is an aluminum sign, 6x3, and the digital printed sticker, as you can see, that has the logo and the name of the church.
Okay. Okay, so the comments we got from the building inspector is you've got to go to the building department and get a certificate of occupancy, and then we can discuss the sign application. Have you gone to the building department yet?
I went that day to the building department and they said first I have to go downstairs, and then they said that once you guys approve, then we can move to upstairs. That's what they told me in the building department, but I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, that's for the sign application, so it's a little bit different. So you've got to go to them. You've got the sign application. We have that. So go to the building department and take care of the CO, and we'll put you on for next month, and I don't think we'll have any issues.
All right.
All right?
I'm sorry, are you with the sign company or with the?
Yeah, with the sign company.
Okay, you're a sign company. You might want to, it's not your issue that not having a CO, it's really the church's issue. So
Yeah,
Church is
got it. Okay, no problem. I can talk with the client.
And we'll put it on for next month. Shouldn't be an issue.
All right, perfect.
Right, thank you.
All right.
Jennifer still running the,
I'm sorry?
is her name Jennifer that runs the church, that does the church?
I'm not sure because I'm dealing with the pastor, with the,
I'll call the contact I have also, but.
All right, all right, no problem.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 156, 160 Wayne Avenue, the multifamily project.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you recall, my name is Dan Richmond. I'm with the law firm Zarin and Steinmetz, 81 Main Street, White Plains, New York, 10601. And with me on behalf of the applicant as well is Peter Gato Jr., the applicant's planning consultant. As you recall, we're here for a 41 studio unit multifamily project that is completely code compliant. Late this afternoon, around 5 o'clock, we were presented with a letter from the building inspector, or a memo to your board purporting to say that this application does not comply with the code. In fact, the code, as in books of your village, as in filed with the Secretary of State, does not contain any condition, and certainly not the condition the building inspector refers to. Any argument that he makes to that extent is void for vagueness, unconstitutional, violative of our client's due process, exposes the village to liability on several levels. We would ask that we be allowed to present. We've asked your board to commence the secret review process, and we're here tonight to continue to process this application.
Okay, so you're not seeking to challenge that?
We will certainly, we will certainly consult with our client. We understand that, our ability to challenge that through the Zoning Board of Appeals in the first instance, but we think simultaneously your board can proceed to process this application.
So what do you want?
You can hold off on processing because right now that's the law of the case until he challenges it. So it doesn't really make sense to process it until.
So I mean, yeah. Look, if you wanted to process it, the board could take a vote right now based on that determination, right? I mean, they could say denied, so,
But I don't know on what basis they would do it again, because
the building inspector has made a determination, and until that's changed, that's the law of the case, so to speak. So, if you want to proceed, they can deny it tonight without you appealing it.
I don't
That's
think
up to
they
you.
can deny it tonight for a variety of reasons, including going through the secret process and hearing the merits of the application. I think that would be short-sighted, but I certainly
They would be
understand.
short-sighted not to ask for an adjournment to go to the ZBA, but that's your call. If you want to vote on it tonight, they can vote on it tonight. I'll put that in your hands, because you're basically saying, look, process it. We have something here saying it's not permitted. So,
This is what we have.
Again, we disagree with what you're saying, but in the interest of not getting this waylaid on what we think is a legal battle that I think wouldn't serve any of us, we understand that our next step, based on the building inspector's determination, would be the zoning board of appeals.
okay. So you want to postpone and to make that application, or continue this matter to make that application?
If that's how the village would like to handle it, we're amenable to that.
Okay. Is the board good with that?
Any comments, questions?
Nope. No, I think we'll just adjourn
All
it.
right, so we'll adjourn it, and again, go to the ZBA, and we'll revisit in the future.
All right, we look forward to resolving this shortly and being back before your board in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Danina's. He didn't have any comment on Danina's.
Yeah, I don't know.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, can you hear me? Richard Ellsworth for the applicant, Danina or Zuniga Inc. As we were here last month, I thought I would be standing in the background with one of my professionals giving a presentation tonight. Our architect is not here, so if I could just go through a few additions that we've given this board, specifically architectural plans showing a open structure on the east side of the main building with a proposed 48 seats for diners. I acknowledge the fact that we need to update our narrative, but I cannot do that without the architect's information as to what the material would be. I can tell you that it's going to be a wooden structure, and that would certainly comply with all zoning and code requirements to allow the structure to be there. Other than that, we also would need to incorporate that architectural plan into our final site plan. So those, I believe, are the two matters we have to present to this board in order to have a dialogue. I'm certainly willing to have that, but not being the professional who drew up the plans for the structure, I think I'd be a little outside my scope.
Yeah, sounds like that's okay. So you're asking basically to continue until...
I think so. I mean, I just want to acknowledge the record has the architectural plans. If there are any questions with respect to that, I would like to point out, this is actually our third appearance here. The first was informal, and we did scale back from your, and took your recommendations to heart with respect to the number of outdoor seats that we're seeking. But other than that, we do need our architect to answer any questions you might have.
So, and you mentioned 48 seats. How many tables is that?
12 tables.
12 tables.
I think it's on the plan, if you have it, Rob,
Thank you.
page.
No, I just want to clarify.
Yeah, I got that.
Thank you.
I believe the next meeting would be November 15th.
Well, did you think you'd be...
Is that,
You think you'd be ready for the 15th of November?
we don't have any other plans other than the final site plan to incorporate this. That can be done very quickly.
Okay.
The architectural plans are only finished, and I appreciate your clerk's patience. I think we delivered them on Monday. So that was the holdup. Everything else can really get together. So yes, we'll be completely ready for that. The updated narrative narrative can come from the architect with respect to, unless you need something else, really just a laundry list of how the structure will be built.
I think that's all we're waiting on,
Pardon me?
correct?
Yeah.
I think that's all we need.
And you're saying
You want to just, I would just say it's adjourned at your request, and then we'll reschedule it once you have the paperwork that you need. You want to do that?
Yep, yeah, so let's adjourn this until, hopefully November 15th, when all the paperwork is in and we can review it and the building inspector can review it.
Did you want to say you wanted the stuff within 2 weeks before?
Yeah, is it possible to get it 2 weeks prior to the meeting?
Absolutely. I appreciate your need for that, and we will. I'll speak to Rachel Byrnes at Civil Tech. As soon as she gets this plan, she can just, or the CAD, she can just incorporate right in.
What?
So we can have that quickly.
And the only thing I was going to suggest, Mr. Chairman, is just adjourn it without date. If they get it in time for the next meeting, it'll be on the next meeting. If not, we'll just,
Okay.
All right, we can put it on there, and I promise I'll tell you to take it off, just so no one else gets in front of us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine, we'll put it on. I mean, we'll adjourn to the next meeting.
All right.
But yeah, we're going to discuss later, just the fact that we kind of want everything in 2 weeks prior, just to give
No,
everybody...
I really do appreciate that. It's just other people's schedules, it's
Absolutely.
best laid plans of mice and men. We thought we'd have it in time.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to adjourn it to next month. And I think you're up for Suffern. Okay, thank you. Here's the narrative on that.
he knows that.
All right, so it's Suffern Auto Service, 20 Wayne Avenue, the proposed parking lot across the street from...
Once again, for the record, Richard Ellsworth for the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Good evening.
The board has a proposed amended site plan. The surveyor or the drafter of that is also the architect for my previous client, and he is not here. There are some open questions, and a memo from the building inspector received this afternoon sometime, which I've had the opportunity to review and compare with my application. I think the board needs clarification or explanation, I'm not sure which, neither is an insult to anybody, that the reason we initially came here was a violation against the property for too many cars on the lot. There was a sentence in my narrative, and I think it was well-placed and should have been there, regarding the fact of we are disputing another violation with respect to the use of the lot. And that was not the reason we came here, because it was two separate violations. Appreciate the fact that the board would have to, or would have a right to, incorporate the facts of both before it makes a decision. I do believe that my application, though, if not totally clear, was given with the right intent. It's an amended site plan of an existing. And the existing, I believe, was for some sort of parking or vehicle storage. Vehicle storage under the Suffern Village Code is permitted in that zone. I can represent to this board on behalf of my client that there's no intention to operate a car dealership off of this lot. But there is an intention to use the lot in accordance with the permitted uses in that zone, in the GB zone. And again, I don't want to represent the incorrect word, whether it be parking or storage, although I believe for the purposes of the discussion, they're interchangeable. The board has before it. I think I would have to, I'm sorry, let me take it. I think I would need to amend my written narrative with respect to that intended use. But again, I do not want to deceive this board to the extent that the permitted use and our intended use may be fairly the same. and I would hope this board would see that there's a little latitude with respect to what storage is and what parking is. I would ask the board to allow me to November to obtain the prior approval of that site plan to see exactly what it states. Again, I believe it's either parking or storage or both, and that's what we would submit in our updated narrative and seek the board's approval at the next meeting.
Hey, I have a question. You have the building inspector's comments.
Yes.
He's talking about a stop work order done on the building at 20 Wayne Avenue that exceeded the work. Is that 20 or 23 Wayne Avenue?
23 is the...
Across the street.
Is on the north side of 202. 20 is on the south side of Route 202. I don't know that it is one has to do with the other, but they are the same, I believe they're the same owner, same client.
Yeah, I believe so, okay. Yeah, I just, for clarification, I wasn't sure.
Well, but it's in, I mean, 23, what you want to do on 23 is contingent on 20, right? I mean...
Well, I mean, it's a use that assists 20 with the repair of vehicles.
So I guess the question is, what's your client's intention with respect to resolving the violation?
And I guess the question is if the violation, and I'm being sincere here, if the violation is not, and there's no violation, I think, there's only stop work order.
Well, and a notice of violation, right, there's nothing in court.
I haven't seen anything, so I'm being very careful about this. I really have only heard what some people think is occurred. But the question remains, is the violation on one property, does that prevent my client moving forward on another property? And I would ask that from you so I can...
Well, as a matter of law, no, but you're here and you have I guess the question is, again, if it were totally unrelated property, it would be unrelated. This is parking in relation to 20, and 20 has this notice of violation. So if you're doing a site plan, I don't know necessarily if the violation at 20 requires a site plan to fix it. I'm not sure what...
I don't know.
What needs to happen. My suggestion is, since you're here, that it get, not tonight, that it get addressed as part of this, so that the board, because if you have to come to this board anyway, and the board is going to base whatever it decides on 23 on what's happening at 20.
I need a better understanding of what's happening at 20. I can't tell you or represent that I'm going to agree with what you're seeking until I know what's going on and to see how related they are. A smoke detector is a violation, and I'm not being coy about it. Does that prevent me from coming here for a site plan across the street? I just need to know. So and without any violation before the court, and without being provided with a violation before today, I would ask that this matter be adjourned to November. If in fact further action has to be taken with respect to the property across the street, we certainly can arrange a different date or see what we have to do. But I'm not prepared to stall this one until I know what's going on with the other one. Is that fair?
I think so. Anybody have any comments or concerns? So we'll adjourn this over to November. Is that all right? Okay.
Mr. Ellsworth, are you saying that lot is, you're representing the client, that lot is not being used to sell vehicles at all?
Am I representing it's not being used to sell vehicles?
No, you're representing a client, your client that you're representing. I'm asking you whether, since you're speaking for them, you can tell us that parking lot is not being used to sell vehicles?
I put on the record, and I'll stand by, that my client has advised me that property is not being used to sell vehicles. It's not being used as a car lot. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Right, but and just so it's out there, I think the claim, and you don't have to answer if you don't want, is that it's being used to store vehicles that may be sold somewhere else, and then the vehicle is taken from there, and so, in other words, and again, you don't have the decision in front of you, but I can tell you that the previous decision states that that lot is for
June 16,
parking,
2021.
right, is for parking
For the business.
for the business, not for the storage vehicles. Now, you're making an argument that storage vehicles is permitted there, so that's why they're asking, the building inspector's asking for the clarification.
I think it's a fine line.
Well, that's why we got to decide what the line is. You got to tell us what you want to do, and then the board and/or the building inspector makes the determination.
Well, again, the decision that you have that says we're parking vehicles for the benefit of the business across the street is what we're seeking to do. But how expansive you're going to require us, or how specific you're going to require us, is something that I think is open for discussion. We're not hiding anything. But the permitted use in that zone is for parking and for storage. And I don't know the difference here if, in fact, the vehicle is eventually sold that was sitting on that lot. Particularly if that vehicle is being worked on across the street. And how that could be defined, or how my client could be respectfully handcuffed into exactly what every car is being, how every car is being treated on that lot. The violation in court has to do with selling cars from that lot. And I can tell you, as I said, I've spoken to my client numerous times, there was a mistake. He placed something on his website and put that address there. I submit to the court, not to you, but that's not indicative of selling. Someone has to show me that somebody's actually walking on that lot and driving away after paying some money. But he changed his website and took that address off. And he has represented to me that no one is walking on that lot, no one's going to that lot, looking at cars and buying them there. And I think the fact that the cars are on that lot, whether they're, call it parked there or stored there, and I guess, again, that's the definition we're gonna have to talk about, is.
I have a question. If we were to go to that lot, would we find that all the cars have legal license plates and are registered vehicles?
I don't know.
Or the majority are?
I don't know.
Because the argument, I think, or the question is, are they holding them for resale, or are they actually customers that you're working for and you need the parking lot?
Well, again, that's why we're getting specific into, or this board's getting specific as to what what consists of a car in that lot, a customer's or someone working on the car.
Well, most customers would have a license plate and a registration on the car to drive it there to get it worked on, correct?
Okay.
So that might be a starting point. I mean, it doesn't have to be all the cars, but should be at least the majority, I would think. Otherwise, they're probably waiting to be towed away to be sold.
I didn't hear that last part.
I said unless they're there in storage and then they're later going to be put on a truck to be sold someplace else.
Well, that's a possibility.
Oh, I don't know the answer either, but it's a valid question that might be helpful to get us to where we want to go.
I appreciate it.
So how many unregistered vehicles are they looking to have on this lot?
I didn't say there were any unregistered vehicles on the lot.
I'm asking if there is.
I don't know.
Okay.
And I didn't think that was a point of discussion for the site plan, but I'll certainly, if that's what you're looking for, I'll add that. I think they're all registered.
Before we adjourn this case, the drawings you submitted, thank you for submitting them, but they don't seem very complete. There are no dimensions on the parking plan. Often we see a table that shows what the side, rear, backyard, number of parking, what's required for the property and what you're actually providing. On the Daninas, I understand it's a different case, but...
I'm sorry, we're talking about the parking...
We're talking about this one, yeah. Okay. We're talking about this one. I also, the Daninas, because it is the same architect, not much information, some dimensions, not very many notes. And that doesn't show existing conditions like the parking lot or anything.
You mentioned setbacks. I don't know that that would be required for these site plan
Usually
for
we
the
see a
park.
table that shows rear yard, side yard, front yard, number of parking spaces required, all of that. You know, on a typical site plan approval, that's what I see.
And I appreciate that as well, but that would be if there was an issue with
Okay, that's
required
fine.
front yard or
If your
backyard.
architect doesn't think that's required, that's fine, but dimensions might be nice.
I'm not fighting on the setbacks. I want to make sure this board or Mr. Magrino would not require a bulk table in that regard. A bulk table would be,
What would be the harm in it, I guess? If he's in compliance, there's no harm. He's not applying for that, right?
I'm sorry?
If it's an existing condition, he could note that.
It's an open lot is the question. Bulk would be, setbacks would be for a structure on the lot.
Except
So-
by the zoning, I guess. The zoning identifies what the setbacks are.
I'm sorry, Paul, I'm not hearing you.
Like the zoning every property has setbacks, front yard, side yard, blah, blah, blah. But
So
it
you
is
just
a
want the-
parking
you
lot,
just
so
want
I
the-
see your point. So maybe just put the relevant information on the drawings.
Certainly, the dimensions that will certainly give you that.
Required number of parking spaces, number provided, things like that.
If you could add the dimensions of the parking lot, length and width, the spots.
That's fine.
More detail, generally, more
Okay.
detail would be good.
Anybody else have any comments? So, Mr. Wellsworth, if we could just, I think a little more detail in what the proposed use of it would be helpful, and then we'll adjourn this and until the November meeting.
So proposed use in detail, essentially the two areas we're looking at?
That and the comments that Mr. Stanbridge made and the other board members.
Which was?
Yeah, dimensions, setbacks, just more detail.
Very good.
Thank you. So we're going to adjourn this till next month's meeting.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Le Chocolat, anyone here for Le Chocolat? They're not here.
Get anything from?
Okay.
So just for the record, that was on to, for purposes, well, to have them here, but also about setting an escrow for the planner, but I don't think we have that, so do you want to postpone that till November?
Yeah, we'll postpone that till November. Anybody have any old business to discuss? All right, new business, I just wanted to, as we sort of alluded to with Mr. Ellsworth, I don't know if we need a formal motion or not, Mr. Magrino, but we would like to require applicants to submit a complete application 2 weeks prior to the meeting, which gives the clerk time to do what she's got to do, as well as the building inspector and fire inspectors to do their work. Do we need a motion on
And
that?
if it's
or-
not in by that time, then it's not on the meeting. I would,
Exactly.
you can set that as a policy, and I would
Okay.
suggest you make a motion on that, is to
All
set
right.
that policy.
I want to make a motion to set the 2 weeks prior policy that completed applications are in by noon on the Wednesday, 2 weeks prior to the meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Dale. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Stanbridge. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to set the November meeting to November 15th at 7 PM?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, Mr. McInerney. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Dale. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Any miscellaneous? I don't think we do. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Halper. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Stanbridge. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.